Mr. Conway, you are here today to prove you are not the father of 20-year-old Trayvon Cruse, yet find yourself in court today owing more than $53,000 in back child support. You claim that you've been arrested numerous times as a result of the child support, and you're ready to prove once and for all that you're not his father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are here in court with your sister, am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Ms. Cruse, you say you have zero doubt that Mr. Conway is your child's biological father and claim he's denying your son only to avoid paying the child support debt.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Conway, you say paying support for a child that isn't yours has basically ruined your life. Tell me how.
Yes, Your Honor. You know, basically this $53,000 they say, oh, well, I'm paying child support in Nebraska, but he has two orders. One order in Nebraska, one order in Missouri. I didn't know nothing about exactly where they was in 2005 until I got arrested.
And you've never hired an attorney to deal with this issue?
Ma'am, that's the problem. If I had to get an attorney, I had to get an attorney from Missouri, but I live in Nebraska. So it was gonna cost me way too much money to have an attorney in Missouri.
Well, I'm sure it'd be less than $53,000.
Yeah, it'd been a whole lot less than $53,000.
Yeah, it'd be less.
It'd been less than $53,000, Your Honor. But this is the problem. I was paying child support for him in Nebraska.
How does
She the one when
it
got two orders for him. Nebraska said don't even worry about.
How many times have you been arrested over?
About 10.
Christmas Eve.
About 10. Every time I get a house or an apartment, soon as I'm doing great. I don't care if I'm walking down the street and the cops stop me.
Right.
They pull me over. They'll stop me, and here I come.
You brought your sister. Ma'am, I'd like to hear from you. You feel like your brother has made the effort.
I feel like every time he gets a job or something, you know, he goes back to jail. By the time you've kept him from all that time, guess what? That job is gone. That apartment's gone. Now you're back on your sister's couch.
So you basically have witnessed this cycle. If you've got that going on in Missouri and Nebraska and you want to understand and you say, but I'd have to hire a lawyer in Missouri, well then hire a lawyer in Missouri. Ms. Cruse, I want you to chime in on this because I want to understand this better.
Edwin has not did nothing for my son.
You didn't let nobody see him.
You can call the car, $29, this. I called Nebraska because he tried to say this story a long time ago that I'm paying in Nebraska. I call and I say, well, what, you know, give my
Why is Missouri
information.
not
So
worried
you've
about
tried to straighten this out.
Try to straighten it out. They said, we don't have, I said, look, this guy's calling me, harassing me, saying they're taking 700 and something out of my check. I said, I'm not receiving nothing. I'm not receiving no aid for the state or anything. So why am I not getting my money? I want my money if he's paying it.
So you haven't received any support?
It's impossible.
Off and on, $29.
Impossible, Your Honor.
$29 here, there's some $3 here. He ain't did nothing. Probably altogether maybe $5,000 over 20 years. I don't really know.
Really?
It must have been.
Well,
You've never paid child support.
One at a time.
Well, if I was getting it,
One
it was
at a
on record.
time.
I had to
Hold it. You ain't doing nothing.
Let's get some order. Trayvon is 20 years old.
Yes, he is, Your Honor.
Were you at his birth? Did you sign his birth certificate?
Your Honor, I couldn't sign it. The day I asked her to sign the birth certificate, she told me no. I asked her to sign the birth certificate. She told me I didn't have to sign it.
That's a lie.
Did you say that, Ms.
She told me
Cruse?
not to sign the birth certificate.
He came up
you know
and
what?
took
That's
the
why my
joy
name
of
is
the-
not on his birth certificate. But on
Jerome,
other
let me
kids'
see
names-
that evidence, please.
On other
He
kids,
can't-
my name is on their birth certificate. She told me not to sign the birth certificate.
You say she didn't let you
Come on.
sign the
She
birth
told me not
certificate?
to. In the hospital room, the nurse came in. She told me not to sign the birth certificate.
Wow.
Tell me I'm lying, TT.
Ms.
You
Cruz,
lying.
Is that true?
You lying.
Come on, TT.
You lying.
Boy, I tell you.
You lying. Your Honor.
Well,
at
why
that
isn't
time,
he
I was
on this birth
19 years-
certificate?
I'm not on the birth
Because
certificate.
he was missing in action.
I was at the hospital when he was born. You had a C-section. I was there.
Exactly. You was there, but you was missing
come
in
on,
action.
T.
You wasn't there when the.
Come on, I was
they don't
there
just
when you had to
bring
see.
the
I was
birth
right in the room with him when he
certificate.
came
Anyway, let me
out.
talk to the judge.
So what you're saying,
Your
Ms.
Honor,
Cruz, is
they don't-
by
what are
the
you talking about?
time
It was
they brought
time
the
for all
birth
the-
certificate,
exactly. They don't.
he was not there.
He wasn't there. He's back in the
I was-
streets. like
I was
he
in the
used to
room.
do. That was all the relationship.
On the way home
was about.
from the hospital that
Street,
night after you told me not to
street,
sign
You
the birth
all
3 days at a
stop
time.
talking over one another. I cannot hear you. Proceed, Ms. Cruz.
He was there when I actually had the baby, but they don't just bring the birth certificate. here's your baby, here's a birth certificate for sign. No, you had to stick around. He was there for the joy, and then he's gone like he always did. He wanted to call and come and look, you know, oh, that's my son when he's in football practice one time of his life, no birthdays, no nothing. But no, this is all a lie. He's just now coming up with all this.
Mr. Conway, your name is not on the birth certificate. You've expressed today that you wanted to be on the birth certificate. If you missed the opportunity to sign the birth certificate in the hospital, why not make arrangements at a later date?
Exactly.
Your Honor, she left town. She left town. We was doing all right. We both had a job. We happened to lose our apartment. When we lost our apartment, she hit the corner. She was gone for 9 months. She came back in June. Told me in July she was pregnant. She had the baby in January.
Right.
That's 7 months. The baby got to be 9 months. Come on.
What is that you're holding?
It's a calendar.
I'd like to see that. Jerome, will you hand me that evidence, please? So you've made a calendar.
That's right.
To outline to me how this
right.
has happened.
And that's 7 months. You can't have a baby in 9 months and 7.
So you're saying she left and then returned home in June?
Yep.
She told you she was pregnant in July.
Had the baby January 17th.
Then had the baby January 17th.
That's right.
That's right.
So you counting back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, even if it was 6 or 7 months, you're saying it's not enough time.
Not enough time.
Was
came back pregnant,
Trayvon
Your
a
Honor.
full-term baby?
Yes, he was a full term.
She came back pregnant.
And Your Honor, I had a job, so I can't just go somewhere in 8 or 9 months and then whoop, come back.
So you're saying you weren't gone that long?
No.
Oh, Your Honor, come on. Yes, she was.
That must be, you know,
left every
again, he
weekend,
got
Your
selective.
Honor, come on.
He got selective memory. No,
Bottom line is, this
He's a liar.
6, 7 months
Bottom line.
pregnancy, in your mind, you're saying, you
Yeah.
tell me you're pregnant in July, we having a baby in January, this math doesn't add up.
Math don't add up.
And now you're almost close to $54,000 behind in child support.
Yeah.
And you say there's absolutely no way this child could be yours.
No, Your Honor.
But yet he
No
was
way.
yet he was there when I had the baby.
And was mad because he didn't get to sign the birth certificate.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
That is when I started having doubts when she told me not to sign the birth certificate.
Nah.
Oh, so you didn't have doubts when the pregnancy was 6 or 7 months?
All them doubts started when she told me not to sign the birth certificate. And then the first time my mom seen him, my mom said he don't even look like us.
So the point
that's when
is,
it got started.
the time frame gave you a little doubt, but you were going to push that aside.
Yep.
You came to the hospital, you were going to sign the birth certificate,
Yes.
you were going to be the father. But then when she said, she said, don't sign the birth certificate.
That's right, Your Honor.
She says you missed it.
Yeah.
That's what fueled your doubts even more.
Yes, Your Honor.
Trayvon, this is a lot for a young man. Growing up, did you know that Mr. Conway was your father? Is that what you were told? There's no name on your birth certificate.
I mean, yeah, I knew that because a couple times he came down to visit me. He tried to call me when he did. But me and him is way different. I remember him taking me into a strip club
while
to
he
call
had a beer.
because he said he wanted to call, and he said he wanted
Yes,
to call
he did.
and see when the
Strip club.
Let the young man testify.
He said he wanted to see when the bus was coming. The dude at the door said, I can't come in because I'm too young. I sat down back by Salvation Army in the Greyhound until he came out. He's inside for like 15 minutes. You was only around
whole
when we
while
was
we
supposed
was
to
in
have
Nebraska.
No, man, don't talk to me. I'm talking right now.
Don't talk to you. You are very disrespectful young man. That's why you can't be my son, because my kids
You've been calling me your son this whole time until 20
man.
years.
Yeah, until you started.
Okay, so why are you on here talking about my mom like this?
I'm telling the
why
truth
are you
about your mom.
embarrassing me like this?
Oh, man.
You're embarrassing. I got a son now. My son has I pay for everything. Every week I get paid. I call my girlfriend, I'm telling her, what do you need? I don't care what it is.
That's good for you.
Oh, you're
You're
not
supposed
a
to do
man,
that.
bro.
I done did the
You're
same
not
for
a
you.
man.
I done did the same for you. You was mine.
Bro, a real
You was
man
mine.
would stop being in the streets, man. And
What
man
streets
up
you
for that
talking
kid.
about, Trayvon?
You never
I've been
man up
working
for
all my
nothing.
life.
I've never had
That's
nothing
that junk
from
your
you.
mama telling
All right, hold on.
Why haven't we got child support then if you've been
I don't know
working?
why you ain't got it, because you got it in 2 different states.
No,
That's
because I
why
got
you
the
ain't
card
got
in my
it.
pocket.
I'll tell you why you haven't got it, because it's in arrears.
Exactly.
$53,000 worth.
The
So
Nebraska
the
don't
point
pay no way
is
with it.
this.
This come out of Missouri.
The point
I
is
don't
this.
care.
Missouri
This
don't
young
own that.
man,
Nebraska don't sell Omaha
this
dime.
young man is trying to talk about what he experienced growing up. And some people can only focus on themselves.
Yes.
He has tears in his eyes as he talks about the earliest memory he has of his father is going on a bus and ending up at a strip club, but he can't get in, so he got to sit outside and wait.
It's a whole
Never
bunch
happened,
of
y'all.
lies and fake promises. for real.
Yeah.
Never happened, y'all.
Let him finish the statement.
He's never held up his end of the bargain ever. He's never been.
And you feel like he did not make an effort.
Never made an effort. It's not hard. You're not just living for you now. You have to live for somebody else. Like
Yeah.
I do. You know what I'm saying? I've been through some stuff, but I mean, I've been through some things, but I don't let that affect me. It does hurt me that when I was growing up, I used to look at my stepdad like, cause I used to see but that's his real kid though, my little brother. And I used to wonder, like, I used to be mad at my mom, like I still did, like, man, why? Like, you left him better than me. And it's not because of that, it's because I've never had you around. Only time you've been around and you've never taught me anything. My stepdad has taught me everything I need to know.
Your Honor, he always leaves me nasty text message. He text message me
'Cause you always
every
promise
kind
him
of
something
thing.
you don't
All he
follow
talk about on text message, send him some money.
$53,000.
He said send him his money. That's all he want.
No.
Tell him you
brought that
bomb,
in
you this,
liquor.
you that, you everything else. No, of course I ain't gonna do nothing. Come on, man.
Mr.
No way.
look,
Did you wanna
this
see-
court,
I sent you
this
pictures.
court does not in any way condone young people, children being disrespectful to their parent. Let me say that first. However, let me also add, this young man has stood here today and he's talked about how this has affected him. And honestly, Mr. Conway, I didn't see you miss a beat. I mean, your mouth just running like a motor. It's like you didn't even stop to listen to this young man. And so, as much as I want to say, oh, well, there's no way this man couldn't care about this young child. There's no way he could ignore him. There's no way he wouldn't value what his feelings and emotions are. You standing here in this courtroom doing just that right in front of my face. And the truth is, with the dates you gave me on that calendar, I get why you could have doubt. I get it. Math, it's odd.
That's his math, though.
But I was just about to say, but that's based upon your recollection of the events and the times you were together. The fact is that despite these dates, you were still at the hospital and you said in court, I wanted to sign the birth certificate.
Yes.
So when I see a man say, I wanted to sign a birth certificate for a child, and yet when he's standing in this courtroom so eloquently speaking about the way your absence has affected his life, and you're not even listening.
Yeah, and I hear what he's saying.
And do you understand how it has affected him?
Yes, I do.
What he's saying, it breaks my heart, that story about how his stepfather has a child and it's his real child, and he always felt like he was on the outside. Did you hear that?
Yes, I do. I understand that, Your Honor.
So now, are we ready for the results?
I
Because
am
I
ready.
most certainly am.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Shoot, bring it on.
At the end of the day, the kid is not his. Let's see this, Billy.
Yeah.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics,
Triggers.
and they read as follows. In the case of Conway versus Cruse, when it comes to 20-year-old Trayvon Cruse, it has been determined by this court Mr. Conway, you are his father.
That's what I'm talking about. Get your life together. Get your life together.
my life is
You ain't
together.
had no business question mine.
Yeah, I question
fucked
it.
up, man.
I question it because he
We
questioned
don't want
it.
nothing
That's
from
for something,
him.
Your Honor.
This is,
Yes, sweetheart. What would you like to say, Mr. Cruse?
I accept your apology, but honestly, after coming on this after 20 years, it's so embarrassing how you just
Yes, it
talked about
is.
my mom.
yes,
like,
it is.
I didn't know.
When I ever like,
I didn't know.
you're my father. You're my biological father, but I don't want nothing to do with you. You're not
Thank you.
that. The way
That's
you
what you
just
want?
talked about my mom
Disrespect.
today in court, how she just did this and
She did.
and then what you tell me on phone and what you're showing in person is different than what you're saying right now. in court. So I'll forgive you,
So you can move on.
but
Trayvon, I'm sorry. I apologize, man. I really do. And I understand that you just had a new baby. And if you give me the chance, man, I know I can never make up for the time or whatever, but I do the best I can. And I'll try. And I love you, man. You can't get a hug from me, man? Please? Or a handshake or something? Can we start somewhere?
That's very nice. He's angry right now, and this may not be the day. Mr. Conway, this might not be the time. It may take you 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 months, 5 years. But if what you said today is true, humble yourself and approach this young man with love in your heart. There's a part of letting people redeem themselves that I think is important in life. All right?
All right.
So think about it, because you're a strong young man and a smart young man, and I commend you for being the father that you are. Ms. Moffett, you always believed the defendant was your dad until 2 years ago, when you received a message from a man claiming to be your biological father. You are tired of the confusion and are petitioning the court for a paternity test to prove the defendant is your dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, you say the plaintiff's mother played games and unfortunately have substantial reason to doubt paternity. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Moffett, you received a message from another man?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell that story.
2 years ago, he inboxed me on Facebook, was saying that I'm his child, and when I'm looking like, wow, this confusing, like, I don't know. And then he had sent me a picture of me when I was like, maybe like 2 or 3. And he was saying that I'm his child and I have 2 other siblings.
I can see you're still shocked.
Yeah.
And so you submitted that message to the court. The message reads, "Hi, this is Lawrence Saunders. Call me because you is my daughter and I've been looking for you." You respond, "What? Who are you?"
Right.
"You aren't my dad." And he responds, "I am your dad and I can prove it. Call, please." Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you call?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said that it hurt for you to say that come out your mouth, but I'm just like, you told me, and I want to find out, you are my father. But after that, then he just,
I know this hurts to think about and talk about.
it's just, I just want to know who my father, that's all. I really do.
And you were always told Mr. Johnson was your father.
Yes.
And this phone call out the blue, this message.
Yeah, just like, where'd it come from? Like, all of a sudden, out of 2 or 3 years.
Mr. Johnson, tell me why you have doubts.
Me and 2 more other guys was, at the time was dealing with Miss Moffett, and I just had doubts that I was her biological father at the time when she was little. I didn't know. I really didn't. I didn't know if I was the father or not, so here we are.
Miss Moffett, what was the nature of your relationship with Mr. Johnson?
Well, Mr. Johnson and I met when I was young. We fell in love, and we just was seeing each other, going places. He showed me things that I never saw before, and that made me fall for him, even though I knew he was married at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, he was married, so it was a lot of sneaking around, hiding. And we used to, our favorite spot to meet up was like at Burger King. And while he'll go home and get ready, change clothes and come back, and we just go out and kick it.
How long did this relationship go on?
Ooh. The relationship went on strong for like about 2 years, and then I left and went to Mississippi.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
did your family ever find out about this affair with Miss Moffett?
Yes, they did.
What happened?
Oh, well, I was sitting at the restaurant with Miss Moffett, and a young dude went back to my house and told that I was sitting in a car at a restaurant with her. After then, we had words from then on,
So at that point, You were exposed.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you keep seeing Ms. Moffett?
Yes.
So that lesson wasn't learned. Ms. Moffett,
Yes, Your Honor.
tell the court what happened when you found out you were pregnant.
I wasn't sure who was the father because I had went out to Maywood to see Mr. Johnson. And at that time, Mr. Johnson was at work, so I stayed around till he get off work so we could see each other. But in the meantime, I had went to one of my friend houses named Mr. Saunders, which I was dating before Mr. Johnson. Basically, I ended up having sex with him that day and Mr. Johnson at the same time. So that's why I'm not sure.
So wait a minute. You had sex with Mr. Saunders and Mr. Johnson on the same day?
Yep.
Not at the
Yes, Your Honor.
same time?
Yes, Your Honor, right, the same day.
And so when you found out you were pregnant, who did you tell?
Well, I told them both exactly because I wasn't sure who was the father. Once the baby was born, and as soon as Mr. Saunders seen her eyes, he like, oh, that's my baby. And I'm like saying to myself, I don't think so. But, you know, I led him to believe that it was.
But you believe Mr. Johnson was her biological father?
Yes, because Mr. Johnson and I had a connection, and pretty much Rissa was a love child. And I feel that Mr. Johnson was more of the father than Mr. Saunders was. And then as Rissa got older, she starts to get more features of Mr. Johnson. And then everybody, like in my family, like, oh, this is Mr. Johnson's child.
I didn't know she was pregnant.
You didn't?
No, Wasn't seeing each other that tough at that time, and all of a sudden, she came to me with a picture and showed me the picture of Rissa. And that's how I found out I might be the biological father.
So you gave him a picture?
Yes, Your Honor.
You brought it to him? You sent it to him? How did he get this picture?
I brought it to him. I showed him.
You brought it to him, and what did you say when you brought the picture?
I told him, I said, here's Rissa, and here's your child, you know, that you could be a possible father. And then also I did let him know about Mr. Saunders at the same time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So you brought him this picture and said you could be the father.
Yes. but
And
I-
there's also another potential father, Mr. Saunders. Is that what you said?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you remember her being honest about that?
Yes,
And
she
so
was.
then did you have doubt at that point?
Big time.
Okay, so
Yeah.
once you started feeling like your family and everybody was saying it was Mr. Johnson's child, you love Mr. Johnson, you said, you know what, this I believe this is Mr. Johnson's child. You allowed them to form this father-daughter bond where you would let her visit him,
Yes,
spend
Your Honor.
time with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Moffett, Mr. Johnson was the only man you knew to be your father, right?
Yes.
You had no idea and had never been told about Mr. Saunders.
No.
So during Nerissa's childhood, were you told you were the only possible father?
No. Mr. Sanders.
Okay, Mr. Saunders. All right, you were told Mr. Saunders was her biological father?
Yeah.
So wait a
I
minute
didn't know.
now. This is confusing. Ms. Moffett, Mr. Saunders insisted, you said, you testified to that he was Nerissa's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So that's what Mr. Johnson understood? That Mr. Saunders was her biological father?
Mr. Johnson didn't know that I was leading Mr. Saunders on, letting him know, Mr. Saunders, that he was the dad as well. He didn't know that I told Mr. Saunders that he was a dad also.
Okay, so why are you telling two men they're the biological father?
Because Mr. Saunders knew I had sex with him, you know, we had sex, and Mr. Johnson, and then at the same time that Rissa was conceived,
Okay.
that he kind of figured that Rissa was his, and he going by the color for her eyes because Rissa had the same eye color that his mom does.
But Nerissa testified that it was just 2 years ago that she was told that there was another possibility. So you knew this all this time,
Yes, Your Honor.
but you didn't tell your daughter.
No, Your Honor.
What I don't understand is you're telling two men they could be the father, but you're not telling your daughter that two men could possibly be the father.
I told her, that it could be a possibility, but
When did she tell you this, Ms. Moffett?
2 years ago. But I just want to get this over with.
I know it's hard, honey. I know.
I don't know.
And the truth is, you weren't informed. Miss Moffett,
Yes, Your Honor.
why did you decide to just come clean now?
Because Narissa need to know who her biological father is and need closure so she won't be torn between two fathers, so she can have clarity and just go on. And they could build a bond because she have other siblings out there that she need to meet. And you know, because they never did believe that Narissa was his anyways. But
Your family never believed that Narissa was your biological child?
Right, They don't believe it. I stayed out of it until Rissa got real sick. Went to the hospital and spent time with her. I said to myself, man, this child is laying up here fighting for her life, you know, and she don't know who her father was. And she said she wanted her father there at the hospital. And I spent 3 nights there with her. I said, I'm gonna be there for her from now on out, bottom line.
And so how did you find out that Narissa was sick and in the hospital?
Her stepdad, and he told me, he said, Ron, you need to get to Indiana as soon as possible. We don't know if Rissa's gonna be much around here much more longer. So I shot on over there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I shot on over there. And I seen all these tubes and stuff, and I just couldn't believe it.
And so at that moment, you decided to go to the hospital because you believe you were her father.
Right, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Did Mr. Saunders also come to the hospital, Ms. Moffett?
no, he didn't. And then when
Did you let him know? Did you tell him?
well, I didn't have any information for Mr. Saunders to let me know what's going on, but when Rissa came out of her coma, she gave me information and get contact with him because she wanted him to come and see her. But he made every excuse, the reason why he couldn't come. But if he claimed to be her daughter, it wouldn't matter. With no cost or whatever, he'd be out there trying to see her. If he thought that was her last days on this earth, he at least try to come out there and see how she was doing.
And this is the man that had been so persistent
Right.
that he was her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that he had even been persistent enough to send her these messages.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then when she's in a coma, he doesn't come?
No, Your Honor. Only one came is Mr. Johnson.
Sure did.
Narissa, I'm so happy you're okay.
Thank
I
you.
really am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful you're all right. Can you tell the court what you feel?
I'm just hurt.
And you feel hurt because of this
Whole
paternity
situation.
secret?
The whole situation.
And it really is a lot to process because you're receiving new information in this very moment. I know that. Do you feel disappointed in your mom?
No,
What are you feeling?
just hurt. It's stressful to wait this long. And I'm 28. I should have figured this out when I was little.
Ms. Moffett, as you look at your daughter, how much of a toll this has taken on her emotionally, this secret?
Yes, Your Honor, I know it hurts, and I didn't mean for it to hurt her. You know, I just didn't feel that, you know, they pretty much wasn't even worthy because they never was there.
You feel like neither man truly showed the effort.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you just decided to let the secret lie.
Yes, Your Honor.
But did Mr. Saunders also know that Mr. Johnson was a possibility in terms of being Miss Moffett's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you think both men just didn't show up because they were in doubt and they had no idea if they really were her biological father?
But, Your Honor, I don't think that would have mattered because if they saying they the father, they would be there.
You're
Regardless.
saying because Mr. Saunders was professing that he was her biological
You should be the
father.
first one there.
Exactly. Exactly.
I need to ask respectfully, are they the only two possibilities?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
There are no other men out there that could say, I'm her biological father as well.
No, Your Honor. The only two.
I believe I've heard enough testimony. I'm ready for the results. Jerome? These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Moffett versus Johnson, when it comes to 28-year-old Narissa Moffett, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are her father.
Yes,
Man, happy for you. Let me go now. You gotta let me go.
He doesn't have to let you go. I'm so happy for you both.
Thank you. You know, she need me, but now it's time to do a lot more for her.
Amen to that. That's the beauty of the truth. It gives us second chances. It gives us another opportunity to do better. I love this picture.
Thank you.
I am a daddy's girl. I know that pose well. It is nothing better in the world. Nothing.
Thank you.
I'm gonna keep my eyelashes on.
I think mine came off.
Because you all ain't gonna get me today. But I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
You
Me
feel
too.
good?
I feel a lot better. Thank you.